Greetings, one and all. This is Brother Jonas. I hope you have had a wonderful week. We will be continuing our study in the book of Genesis. I was unable to do this last week due to my work schedule. However, I did post a reading of the book of 2 Timothy. And for all of those who have given that a listen, I hope it was a blessing to you. If you have yet to listen to that, go on, scroll down and check her out. I hope you enjoy it. Genesis chapter 1, we will begin today in verse 9 and try to go through to verse 19. This will be the third and fourth day of creation. We've already covered how on the first day God spoke existence into existence, because before he was all that existed, and he spoke reality into existence, and then he flooded it with light, and he separated that light from darkness and made the first day. And then on the second day he stretched it out with his hands, stretched out the atmosphere of the earth and the vast expanse of the universe, and now the earth and the universe is ready to be filled with things. And that's where we pick up on the third day. Verse 9. And God said, "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth." And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day. So on the third day, God creates dry land for the first time. It says here that he gathered together the waters into one place and then let the dry land appear. Science has said, some have, that there was once just one great supercontinent before all the other continents were formed, after they broke up and shifted and moved and such. And this could be what this is indicating here. Possibly that when God first created the earth, there was one landmass and then the sea. That's possible. But let me take this opportunity just to give one word of caution. Again, as I've said in previous studies, we don't need to take the word of man for granted and then use that word of man. In other words, read the Bible and then take it to the knowledge of man to prove if the Bible is true. We need to do the opposite. Take the knowledge of man, go to the Bible to see if it's true. So just a word of caution there, but this very well could be what that is. Perhaps. Then it says that he, on dry land, he filled the dry land with grass and herb yielding seed and fruit trees and all that such. So there we have the first life, you might say. It's not exactly, it's not in thinking and moving life. But he created everything to sustain that thinking and moving life. That's what would bring forth the food for it. And he brought forth all that, all the plant life, all the vegetation. But what is missing? Well, we get to the next day in chapter 14. And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of heaven, to divide the day from the night, and let there be for signs and for seasons, for days and for years, and let there be for lights in the firmament of heaven, to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day. There it is. Greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also, and he set them in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. So God creates things rather out of order, at least what we would perceive out of order here in this right here. He creates plant life and doesn't create the sun until afterward. Now, even the quote-unquote ignorant rubes who wrote the Bible knew that plant life needed the sun, that even 24 hours without the sun would be detrimental to plant life, let alone if this is not literal days and it's actually ages. How could that be? It can't. We try to be compatible with the world. We try to make it fit with what the knowledge of the world has, but this just does not work. This is not going to fit, ladies and gentlemen, because they say very clearly what happened first after the Big Bang or whatever happened, because they don't know exactly where everything came from. But the stars, including our sun, had to be formed first. It ignited, lit, from nothing, I guess. Or, from gases bumping into each other or whatever, but where did they come from? Anyway, it lit, and then it put off gravity because it was so massive, so it has this massive gravitational pull, and it caught a bunch of rocks and gases, and over eons and eons, those spinning rocks formed into the planets. Spinning rocks and gases formed into the spheres of the planets. And of course the planets caught their own rocks, and those spheres spun and spun and spun and spun and smoothed out until they became the moons. And it wasn't until after all that finally, however it happened, when we don't know, life came into being on the earth, including plant life. But it says here very clearly, plant life was before the sun. Why is this? Why did God create it this way? Well, God's all-knowing God. Perhaps he knew mankind one day would have these theories of how things came into being, and he's putting this in there just so it doesn't fit with it. I don't know. Certainly, I believe it's to show his priority in creation is the earth. I know that the earth is not the center of the universe, literally, nor is it even the center of the solar system. However, it is the center of God's attention. It is where his focus is. And before he put in all the other heavenly bodies, he wanted to finish the earth. And the earth is finished now. It's not populated with moving and thinking life, but it's ready for it completely now. Then he put in the sun, moon, and stars. I think it's to show, too, there, with almost no exceptions, all false and pagan religions have had their worship of the sun either as a god or a god of the sun or what have you. They believe life comes from the sun, and most certainly without the sun there could not be life. But God here is showing that before he even set the sun in the sky, or before, however you want to say it, he put the earth in its orbit. Before then, he gave life. Before then, he was sustaining the plants before the sun ever did. He was giving them warmth before the sun ever did. A big argument here, and I think a weak one. Most arguments you'll find out are pretty weak, arguments against the Bible, is that it says that he created two great lights, the sun and the moon does not give off its own light. So there. Well, excuse me. Well, we who believe in a God also believe that the sun truly, really, does not give off its own light either, does it? Light came from God, and he simply put it in the sun. So in a way, the sun also reflects light. Oh, I know. The sun actually has a power source. It has those great atomic explosions that keep its core heated up, keep it sustained. I know that. But again, God's the one who set that principle. So I think that's maybe a very good reason why he did it in the order he did it in. They say a sign too that of great age. You say that he created the planets and the other and everything, and created the moon. Well, a good sign of age is that when something is caught in gravity, the clump of rocks or the rock or whatever, and it takes eons of it spinning in that gravity before it finally smooths out to the spheres that we see now. Well, that may be so. These men are pretty intelligent that have come up with these hypotheses. I suppose that could happen if you spun something that long in a gravitational pull. It would, if it was eventually, it was just a rock, and then it would smooth out to form a sphere. You haven't ever seen this happen, so you don't know. You can only know what you've seen, right? Unless, of course, you have faith. But yeah, okay, so it could. All that means, dear brothers and sisters, that if God was wanting to create a universe that already functioned the way it does now, to already be ready to support the delicate balance of life and the delicate balance of the solar system and of the universe, then he would have already made it for that purpose. Is that not so? And as for the appearance of age, perhaps that's simply the chisel marks of the great sculptor. Also, we can't forget the effect that the curse has had upon the earth and the universe. Doctors will say sometime when a 40 or 50-year-old man has lived a rough life, that he truly, by all intents and purposes, has the body of a 60 or a 70-year-old. And we know, as Paul says, the whole creation groans and travails like a mother in labor. Not just the great flood of Noah, which we'll get to eventually, but just the great disasters and the great struggle that this universe is having under the weight of sin that was brought into it by Adam. I say all this, folks, and I know sometimes I sound like a broken record, but I hope it's a comfort to you. I know I'm no scientist. And I can even tell you myself, when I've listened to these intelligent men speak about their millions of years with such confidence, it has put doubt in my heart, as I'm sure it has you. But there's no need for that. In this recent series that came out called The Cosmos, paraphrasing the introduction of the episode, each episode says, where did we come from? What is our purpose? Mankind simply woke up one day like a child left on a doorstep, but with no note. And we had to figure it out on our own. Not only is this an attack upon Scripture, but whether they're intending it or not, but it is also an admission that everything that they believe they've had to figure out on their own, even though there's no one who's ever seen alive that has seen the universe come into existence. They're admitting that there is no manual for their belief system. But ladies and gentlemen, there is one for ours. Right here. The Holy Word of God. We have one. Let us always trust in that. All right, I think that covers it for today. We will continue, pick up on verse 20 and get to, I believe, the creation of, we might actually get to the creation of Adam next week. I hope so. Thank you so much for your attention. If you like them, I don't want you to lie to me, but if you like these videos, please like them and share them and tell others about them. And I hope they are a blessing to you. Thank you very much. See you soon.